Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lambda Test XP podcast series. Through XP series, we dive into the world of insights and innovations featuring renowned industry experts in the testing and QA ecosystem. I'm your host, Harshit Paul, Director of Product Marketing here at Lambda Test, and it's a pleasure to have you with us. Today, we are going to talk about the growing role of generative AI in test strategies and how shift left and shift right approaches are transforming testing as we know it. We'll also deep dive into test observability and understand why it's not just a buzzword, but a cornerstone for continuous quality. And to walk us through this episode, we have Purva Jain, Director of Quality Engineering at Veeva Systems. Purva brings 18 years of experience across the life sciences and finance industries. She's not just a quality champion, but also a tech trailblazer, having led quality-led mission-critical platforms like Vault CRM, Veeva CRM, Align, and more. Hey, Purva, we're absolutely thrilled to have you with us. And hey there.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. And I'm really, really flattered that you guys invited me here to talk about my favorite topic, quality engineering.
And it's great to have you here as well. And I'm sure the audience would be looking forward to this session. So talking about the session, Purva will help us, get into the future of automation, how to design scalable, maintainable test architectures, and how you can take, decision when it comes to test strategies. Beyond the tools, frameworks, we'll discuss the people aspect, how to nurture leadership in quality engineering, and create a culture of accountability. There's a lot that's coming your way in this episode. And starting it off with the very first question towards you, Purva. What fundamental shifts have you observed in the quality engineering over the past few years in your organizations that everybody needs to be aware of?
Yeah, so when I started my career, in engineering, and that time quality engineering was very, very isolated, and it was very much done as an afterthought. So design and development was always the priority, and then once it is done, it was mostly the waterfall model. Once it is done, then we would give the entire VRD documents, and then there would be a handoff, and then quality team would come in the end, and then it was always a struggle that, okay, I mean, but now things have completely changed, like from the past, like 10 years. I see quality engineering has become an integral part of the development life cycle. It's not just like with the entire agile methodology. It has changed. It has evolved from just basic testing to focus on holistic customer experience across all business processes. So the shift is like basically now quality engineers, they are not just like testing what the functional spec has, but they have to be the champions, right? As you mentioned, like they have to understand the tech stack, what is the technology the application is built on. They have to understand the end-to-end flow, the process flow, the logs, the monitoring, the observability, every aspect of the product. So they are like not just the quality owner of the application, but also the whole business process, how we can be good at everything from the scratch, from the designing to the delivery to customer success, the feedback from the customer. Everywhere, every aspect now quality engineer is involved. So I see that shift, and that's what we call it, like shift left approach, where quality is started from the beginning, like it's involved, like folks are involved from the beginning. So I see that, and the shift has happened because the industry is moving towards customer success. Customer success has become an obsession now. Every company, if you see, like all the big product based companies, their main core value is customer success. So how can you get customer success? you can only get customer success with a quality application, right?
Right.
Earlier, things were more like, okay, engineering driven organizations. If you see 10 years ago, it was more like that, okay, engineers would decide how things, and product management role was also not that critical.
Yeah, customer centricity was more at bay, People were more
Exactly.
focused about shipping things fast, adding more to product,
Yes.
but somewhere down the line, that customer experience was not as heavily focused back
Yeah.
then.
So now, because we have all industry has shifted towards customer success, everyone really need quality in their applications, and there's so much competition that what is the cutting edge. When we ask our customers that, hey, what do you think, why we are leading the industry in life sciences right now, and the response is because we deliver quality software. So that's give an edge to an application. There are sometimes there are companies who have started an idea and then come up with an application, but then some other companies, they have just copy pasted the same thing but just done it with quality, and they
Yeah,
have succeeded.
right. And I
So
think, like, to an extent where, people might also have heard this a lot, that quality is everyone's responsibility. And I think that is also something we have observed, as a shift, because earlier it was more subjected to these QA teams only, but now everybody's looking at it in a more holistical way, like you just said, right? That, they're coordinating with CS teams, and they're just, trying to make sure that the sooner they get in, but at the same time, people are also making sure that, it is not just one team's job, right? It's everyone's job.
exactly, it's like and they become like quality engineers, right? They become the influencers basically
Hmm.
for continuous improvement. They
Yeah,
become the final catalyst that improves the end product or the service, right? So it's everybody's business. And I love this quote from Aristotle, that quality is not an act, it is a
yeah.
habit.
Oh yes,
So
it is.
and it's really true. Like, I truly believe that you cannot just be quality focused on one day. It's the industry is going towards that trend where it's everybody's business, as you said. So
Right.
it's an act you have to, like, it's not an act, sorry, it you have to do it on a daily basis.
Hmm.
um,
Right.
so yeah, I mean, it's
And
it's very exciting to see how this role has evolved from QA analyst, like quality assurance,
yeah,
to a quality engineering role.
engineering. Exactly. And speaking of all these shifts and trends, there is this such, we hear so much about AI these days. So how do you think QA teams can effectively validate these AI driven features and applications while using AI for testing?
Yeah, this is this is my um, latest thing which I am kind of noodling on and like
Wow.
working towards it. We have some AI products in our product,
Hmm.
AI modules. So we are very much into it right now, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge. I feel it's still growing. And there is a lot out in market. Every day there is a new thing coming up. There is DeepSeek, there is ChatGPT new, there is Manus, and every day you wake up, you first see what's new.
Yes, indeed.
So it's very important to first understand, I feel, that what is the purpose of your application, your AI application. If you are planning to test this AI application,
Hmm.
what's your purpose and what is the output? Is it recommending something? Is it detecting patterns, or it's making a decision? Like, what is the purpose first? First, define the purpose, define the clear acceptance criteria. And usually with AI, it's not like just pass or fail, right? The outcome is very different here. We cannot just say that, okay, this is working or this is not working. A lot of it is more probabilistic.
Makes
So
sense.
the acceptance criteria could be like 80% of your AI generated. Like if you talk about a real world scenario, say for example, in an e-com, you are trying to test a recommendation engine. So your
Yeah.
acceptance criteria would be that 80% of this AI generated recommendations, they should be relevant based on your test data. If they are not relevant, but you cannot like just do that, okay, this recommendation is a pass or a fail. You have to dig in deeper, right?
Right.
So I believe that in order to test an AI tool, AI can help you, but like you have to have a mix of AI and traditional testing approach as well. So I would say it's a hybrid approach. And traditional testing, when I say you can use those API responses, what you usually test, the performance, if the throughput is coming out and like on time, and then real world scenarios. And then when you talk about AIs, there are areas where AI can help you. So I created a spreadsheet where
Mm-hmm.
I kind of broke down all the tasks which my teams are doing on a daily basis. And I
Okay.
kind of categorize them, what can be done with AI, what cannot be done with AI. So I did that exercise, which was very helpful. Uh, and what came out of that exercise was that intelligent test case generation, that
Mm-hmm.
like test case generation could be done through AI. Of
Yeah.
course, they would not be like 100% accurate, but they can give you at least like the efficiency. You don't
Yep.
have to write like big, and especially like when I'm working on a highly regulated enterprise software, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a difference. If I talk about e-commerce, where test cases are very very similar. If you are booking a hotel room from Hilton versus Marriott, the use cases are very very similar. So there, like you can exploit AI way more, right? Because these are generic. Whenever these are modeled, like test case generation tools are out there, AI, and they are
Right.
being modeled. I was in one of the conference where I asked the same question, that hey,
Uh-huh.
the test case generation for an very regulated proprietary enterprise software, like
Uh-huh.
it's not there yet that it would give you accurate results. You can use it to efficiently generate, and then the test case review, which is the second round, right?
Right.
That round quality engineers will have to do to kind of review AI's work as of now
Yep.
and modify it a little bit. But basic tests which an application needs, it's there. You can use test case generation tools to generate the test cases from AI. That's there. But
Of course.
if I say 100%, we are not there yet.
Yes. I
Second
agree.
second place would be test selection and prioritization. That's also machine learning models can identify high risk areas in your application, and based on the past failures and code changes, they can allow the teams to focus more on efficient
The
test
predictive
case
side of
selection
things, where
process.
these AI sort of things can look at your past test results and predict you where you're heading. Maybe a big time feature that can help you understand how flaky tests are being resolved over time, and it can maybe categorize errors for you for that instance, right? So yes,
Yes,
generative AI, of course, you can create test cases, but there's also predictive AI, which can help you understand what's happening down to the execution level
exactly.
over a given period of time. So big advantage over there.
Yeah, big advantage there. And then automation, like talk about automation. So now it's not just like there are agents for everything.
Oh yeah.
uh, Agent to create a test case, agent to create and prioritize test cases, agent to automate, one click automation, no code
Oh yeah.
automation. You name it and we have it.
Oh yes.
So it's there, you can use it. But again, as I mentioned early on, for an enterprise app,
Mm.
these one-click automations, right now, they are not so thorough, I would like, and not so robust. But
Yeah.
for like web applications out there, which are not that complex and they have basic flows, it works like a charm. I've
All
seen
right.
that. So definitely very useful. Visual testing now, like earlier we used to say that, oh, automation cannot capture those pixel by pixel. Now
Yeah.
with visual testing, there are
Of course.
Apply, Lambda test, Percy, right? So many
Yes.
tools. They are doing the visual testing much better than manual testers. People joke about it that, oh, I used to wear glasses to do this testing, but with visual testing with AI, that is the place where you can save time for your
That's
quality
efficiency.
engineers, right?
That's real efficiency there. Yes.
Yeah. Also, I think when you have these automation frameworks which are bulky, and you
Mhm.
and many teams, they struggle with the how to maintain them, right?
Mhm.
So then with AI, like self-healing test automation, it
Right.
automatically heals the test based on the functionality. But
Mhm.
again, then there are some times where your requirements are so tight that you cannot just rely on that self-healing automation tool. You still
Right.
have to go and check if your automation is actually healed the right way.
Of course.
Because I have noticed that sometimes AI would make a decision based on the past learning, right? That, okay, this pop up looks right and it's by design, and then
Mhm.
would pass. But actually, it's a regression.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to be very careful about this self healing test automation, but 80% it works. Um, Test data generation is one more area where AI has taken, like, there were earlier, I remember like 5 or 10 years ago, first we started with using tools to generate data.
Yeah.
Then everybody started coding their scripts to generate their own data. And
Mhm.
now with AI, you just write that, hey, I want this data generated in this format. All those other tools, like I remember Mockru, we were using that, used to script in Ruby.
Yeah.
Now it's so easy with AI. You can save
Yeah.
so much time.
Exactly. I think like as a tester or as a QE altogether, you're always against the clock because there's always so much to test. So looking at these AI-based features, it's more about how productive you can be rather than, are they going to solve my problem 100%? No, because of course they're in that stage where things are still being, mature to a certain extent. But yes, they are evolving fast and they are solving a lot of use cases for a lot of teams. Right now, they may not
Yeah,
be solving 100% of your use cases, but I'm
exactly.
pretty sure, you can get a good value out of it if you, try to get your hands dirty.
Yeah. I mean, it's you have to try it out there, what works for your application, but you cannot ignore AI. It is there and it is there to stay. So
It is
it's
there to stay.
better to like upskill yourself to kind of, and we'll touch upon it a little bit more. But yeah, mostly, and one more area which I could think of is debugging. I
Mhm.
started using, and I mean, um, when you are debugging an issue, so just basic Chrome AI, like in developer tools, there is AI assistance, which
Yeah.
is really helpful for me. If you are
Mhm.
testing any web application, and I would highly recommend turning that on in Chrome, go to developer tool and like the AI assistance. What it gives you is like, it gives you an insight on the network call which you are trying to see, why it failed, why it is slow. So it breaks down and gives the analysis, which is so helpful when you are logging a defect. it is so that whole analysis AI has already done, the initial analysis which a developer has to do. You are already adding that in your Jira, in your defect, right? And it saves a lot of time.
It does. It does. I mean,
So
there's also when we talk about debugging, AI-based RCA is another thing that's trending,
yeah,
right? So
yes.
saving a lot of effort there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so there's a lot about AI, and we previously touched about shift left a bit, right? But there's also shift right aspect to testing approaches, right? So between shift left and shift right testing, what are some practical strategies that you think teams can use effectively?
Yeah. So shift left is definitely important, because as we were talking about how QA engineers, like quality engineers, have evolved, they need to be evolved from the very early phase on, because it is very, I think it's like, I don't know why we were not doing that earlier on, but it's very basic and it's very obvious. It takes it saves a lot of time in releasing and like release planning, because you know that your code is solid, and you will hit the delivery date on time because you have been testing throughout. It's not like a last minute surprise that, oops, we have committed this to the customers and now we cannot make it, right? So shift left, I really I really believe in that. But at the same time, shift right is also getting very, very important, because and I'll quickly explain what shift left and shift right are first. Shift left is when quality engineers are involved from the beginning, and shift right is when you are trying to test things in production. So if you are just doing shift right, it might not work out for most of the big organization. So a combined approach would be more ideal when you are delivering a solid code in production, but at the same time, for future features, you are also doing the shift right approach, where you are trying to get the data and feedback from your production environment, right? So some of the shift right approaches which we have seen in the past and are trending now are like feature flags. You use launch darkly or other tools like that, and kind of deploy your new features in production, but they are hidden, and you can get valid information. There is always, with AI you can generate as much as data as you can synthesize different types of scenarios, but it is still not as good as testing like the real concurrency, right? So for that, shift right is important. Real time what users are doing on a real time basis, right? Especially for like customer facing applications, where like if you are testing a security app, how many times customers are looking at their security devices, those input very, very important, right? And even if you have to train your AI model, you need this data, right, for your future features. So it's very important to do that. And also, like, one more thing which we do is the A/B testing approach, where like you try to ship the features to certain sets of user, and it can be based on whatever you want to do. Like some people do it based on regions, some people do it based on levels, like tiers, like, okay, we'll give these features, intro these features to first tier customers of our application. So those are something which, and monitoring, real time monitoring, right? Like having, and we'll talk about it in observability, but that's very important as well. So yeah, it's a combination of both shift left and shift right, which could like help an organization to have a solid feedback loop
Mhm.
at the same time, kind of,
That makes
yeah,
a lot of sense, actually. Yes. So it has to be a hybrid approach. You can't just stick to one. Just make
yeah.
sure shift left is there to push things faster. And you pitched in a very interesting word there, observability, right? And every team is chasing, that observability, so they are aware of what's happening, right? But there are teams who are struggling to make sense out of massive data generated by these observability tools. So what advice would you cater to this audience? How can they be better?
Yeah, you said that right. Like, observability, like we are all talking about it. We use Prometheus. There's Datadog. There are other tools out there. They generate massive data, and it can get overwhelming to kind of like find what is actually valuable, right? Um, so the few things which I feel are very, very important when you are implementing a new tool for observability
Mhm.
is structure. You have to have a structure. And first, before even getting to structure, it's important to first understand what are you looking for without
Right.
just getting like just looking into a tool and seeing these fancy dashboards. It will not, it gets like, there was a point where we were like looking at so many dashboards, and then we like we took a step back and we are like, what are the most important things which we need observability on, right? We cannot like monitor everything. So first,
Right.
what? And then you get to like a structure. Tags are very important, right? Um, and one thing which like logs, traces, metrics, one thing which really helped us is like all of these things, these need to be part of your life cycle. It should not come as a different feature that, okay, I am
Right.
delivering a feature right now, and then we will do the metrics and the tracing and the logging part of it later. That later
Mhm.
never comes. To that thing, that's like tomorrow never
Come on, never
comes.
come. Yes.
It's like that, right? So like when we are developing a feature, it should come with these feature like things. It's same as how we were saying that quality engineering is part of the feature squad now. So these metrics need to be developed when you are developing the feature, because what happens, and it's also a shift. Earlier what was happening, like you develop a feature and then your CEO or your GM is asking that, hey, are folks even using, how many people are using this feature, and like you want to make decision based on what the usage of the feature, right? And then we would come back, create another like story or epic to
Mhm.
add these hooks to get the data to
Right.
answer these questions, right? So it was also an afterthought. And my suggestion would be just ingrain it in your regular sprint cycle. When you are handing off a feature to QA, or like when you are developing it, it should be part of your handoff that, hey, what metrics, logs, and traces are being developed with this feature?
Uh-huh.
How will I answer this question from the log? It should be, that should be your question before even starting to test.
Right.
um, alerting is very important. Alerting fatigue, I suffer
We've all
with
been
that.
there. We've
I
all been
suffer
there.
with, yeah. So that's one more thing, that invest and design the alerting the right way. You do not want alert on every API failure,
Right.
because sometimes you have to understand that if I get this alert, will it be a P1 or will it be a critical? That is when you put that in your alert, and then you start your escalation run book after that. So those are like, all these four things, they go hand in hand. Like first
Makes a lot
thing,
of sense.
understand what you are looking for, then put a structure to your observability data, set the right alerts, and then just alerts are not enough. You have to have a run book to
Right.
act on that alert. Who will act on it? When will this happen? Define the right SLAs for it. Every alert need to have a certain priority and a run book, an action item on it. So
Got it.
that's for observability. But it's the key. I mean, it's very important, and that's one of the things which I always remind QEs and developers, that please focus on building the right metrics when you are working on a feature, because then later you will be out of context. You will never come back to it.
Right. Those are actionable insights, really. What you've just now told, it's been an entire playbook. Honestly, I feel like a lot to take from there. But there's also this dilemma of speed and quality going hand in hand, and people could probably write entire books on the subject. But if our viewers were to take back something with them, how would you suggest they balance speed and thoroughness in automation strategies?
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, I can talk on and on about it, but one critical thing which I would say is keep it simple. Don't over optimize for frameworks and scripts. There is so much out in market every day. And I was saying, right, like Selenium, Playwright, this, that, like stick to one thing and like see if it's giving you the ROI. Prioritize your critical use case and automate only them. Like, do not go for automating everything. It is a dream which will always stay a dream.
Yeah,
Earlier, I
100%
used to
automated.
also chase that when I was young in my career. And now I think after like 18 years, I can confidently say that, like, and I'm telling you, right, like with AI also now, I'm like,
Right.
you can do whatever. There is like, you cannot achieve 100% automation.
Right.
That's just not possible. We have to be practical, because we are delivering so much every day. The
That's
world
right.
where like you are coding and the immediately automation, we are not there yet. But yes, there are places where it is in sprint automation is real. There are places where I'm not denying that. It's there, but still, I would suggest for like big enterprise softwares, I would say that like focus on your critical use cases, keep it simple, do not invest in automating edge cases, because by the time you automate edge cases, there will be different set of edge cases. There might be
Right.
time when you have to retire these edge cases. So just keep it simple. And one more key thing which I have from my experience is automation. For automation to succeed in an organization, it need everyone to be involved in it. So involve and align all the stakeholders from the beginning. And this is like for any leadership, right? If you have individuals who are invested and were part of the decision making, they would be more committed to it, versus if you have decided things in a silo and then you are coming back and saying, please use this framework and let's go with these processes. That doesn't work out well. Then people start blaming that, oh, this strategy didn't work, or this tool didn't work, or automation is lagging behind. So I would suggest that, like, because it's a partnership, you cannot just do automation also in like in a separate. So I would say, like, in a Scrum team, dev, PM, functional QAs, and automation, they should all be together. And they should all like work as a team to achieve the automation for their areas.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. So keep it simple and work together. I mean, a lot of innovations that we have in the past decades, they've all been just about breaking the silos, like you mentioned, right? So extremely critical. But as from QE lead perspective, they might also stumble upon situations where there is delivery pressure, but they also have to keep quality in check. So how do they advocate quality when faced with such delivery pressures?
Yeah, and I think this is more for the leaders, I would say. The leaders, they need to first of all, they need to have a thorough understanding of what your customer need. If your quality leader or like quality engineering leader doesn't understand that what is needed, they would not be able to make the right judgment. Every day, every single day, I have to make a decision between customer success and quality. As we were talking earlier, right? Customer success is core value and obsession for everyone now, right? And in order to achieve that, you have to take a certain amount of risk. You have to take those calculative risks on a daily basis. And you will be able to make the right decision when you understand the business processes, when you understand your tech stack, when you understand what is critical to the customer, right? So
Right.
I'll tell you an example. If I don't have an understanding of what customer uses more versus less,
Mhm.
if there is a feature which has more issues, but I know
Right.
like it has like 50 or 55 defects, but we have committed this feature to a customer and we still have to ship it. Then you have to understand, you have to have the right dashboards in front of you to see the usage and what is critical. And if you see that in the entire market no one is using this feature and we are shipping this feature only for this customer, and it will take them time to kind of configure it, and by the time we will fix these defects,
Mhm.
you make the decision to ship it. But then there are some features which are like critical and absolute must for them to work on a daily basis. That's the battle you pick. That's where
Right.
you say that we cannot compromise on quality here. So understanding your customers is the key. So that's why I always suggest QA leaders to work closely with your product managers to understand on a daily basis what customers want,
Mhm.
to make these decisions. Right decisions, very important. You have to present it to your leadership that, hey, this is, I don't feel like you are, I'm the one who signs off on these releases, right?
Yeah.
So that's always a balance to make. Like, you cannot aspire for zero defect. Like, defects are going to come, otherwise job security, right? I will not
Right.
exist. um so yeah, it's
Yeah, I think so. It all comes down to what we started off and pitched about at the beginning: customer centricity, right? Work closely, identify what are your mission critical features you can never compromise upon, what things customers are making the most value of, and just make sure that they don't break, right? And you have to be vocal. I think a lot of it is also around how vocal leaders need to be when placing their ETAs and just explaining these deadlines, right? So just, and that they can only be confident and be vocal when they know what's happening. So as you said, know the product, know what's being tested, know your customers, know it all.
yeah. And you touched on a very important thing. Vocal is very important. um
Yeah.
there is a certain kind of personality which is needed if you are a quality leader. Sometimes people talk about, there are different, everyone has a different strength, right?
Mhm.
But this is one thing which is absolutely needed. You have to, like, if there is a room full of people, sometimes it is the quality leader who has to speak up and say that, no, we are not ready for this release. So being vocal is absolutely needed. And you do not have to be the loudest in the room, but you just need to make your point and back it up with proper data.
Yes,
It
data
should
goes
not
wrong.
come, it should not come from your feelings. I feel that,
Yeah,
okay, this team worked on it, so the quality might not be good. No. Whenever you are presenting it, present it with the right set of data. This is what we tested. This is what I feel the quality should be, and this is
right,
where we are at. And one more thing which I advise all the like budding leaders is, don't just come with a problem. Always think of a solution beforehand.
right,
That it's not just enough for a quality leader to say that, hey, this is a report of defect, and what are the solution. First thing is, a leader should always be part of your life cycle. It should not be that last day you are reviewing all the defects and saying it's a no go. No, absolutely not.
right.
Not the right approach. Every day you have to be monitoring all these feature squads and understand where the risk is and intervene when needed. Trust, but like when you feel that, okay, this squad is not going anywhere, what can we do? Talk to your engineering managers and product managers, talk to your partners, figure out a plan, but you have to be the first one to initiate that plan.
Right.
So I always say that do not just come with a problem, always think of it of a solution in your background, present multiple solution, and let the leader or the group decide what is best for that particular situation.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because a lot of time, especially in quality, people assume that they have to alert the problem. You're not just, don't keep yourself focused about narrating problems. Be a problem solver. That's important as well, especially if you're leaders. You can't just be vocal about what's breaking. You have to understand why it's breaking, and you have to, the more you get that, the better and the faster you could fix those things, right? So just like you said, break down the silos, break down your bias, and make sure that you are, there as a problem solver, nothing else, right? And
Exactly.
we talked about silos as well, and I think we might need to talk a little bit about that, because a lot of times, as much as leaders would want their teams to be transparent, let's be honest, there's always something that is happening in some corner of the workspace where not everybody is aware of, right? So just some sort of practical approaches that you think can help break down these silos between QE and say other technical teams.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's very right now we are with this speed which we are going, and every industry is going with. It's very important to not create these small groups of information, right? It's very collaboration is the key. You have to collaborate. and and I feel that this approach of like feature squads hanging out together works out well for us. We try to like trust the whole feature squad for the with their feature. So it's not like that QA team is separate team and like devs are separate or PMs. No, you are all working towards a specific cause to deliver
Right.
this feature, and you are one team. It's not QA versus dev versus. So
One team, one mission, quality.
one team, one mission. You have to foster that like give them a purpose, give the team a purpose, and make that such the setup should be such that they feel that they are a team, and it's not like.
Uh-huh.
So that's why like we have like I think our CEO he always says this thing, engage team working together. That
Uh-huh.
means like it's not about like your title or your team, it's about the purpose. You are
Right.
driven together as a purpose. And
Right.
every team, right? Every team, this team is like dev. When I'm talking about team, it's about like dev, PM, and QAs who are working towards a feature squad, right? Um,
Mhm.
they have us like everyone has their own strengths. So identify as a leader, you should identify what is what, like whose strength is what, basically, and then assign them tasks accordingly, so
Right.
that they can shine on what their strength is.
Right.
And it really works out. Like if in a squad someone is very good in project management,
Mhm.
let them lead that. There should
Right.
not be like, okay, only this person would do this project. Let them take a lead, let them collect the estimates, let them um, kind of come up with a release plan. So it
Mhm.
it should not be title driven. That
Right.
that that though sometimes these titles, they kind of restrict people. If you are developing an environment where, okay, this, you are dev, you can only do, of course certain things need to be defined, but
Right.
but in an atmosphere where people are all collaborating and like they have a sense of oneness, they will do things, and it will break those small blocks or chunks or groups of information as well, right? If every, as I was talking about, like if metrics, if engineering and QA both are talking about metrics
Mhm.
and logs, there is no like, they are talking same language,
Right.
right? So
And
if
a
you are
big
all
part about
talking,
that, they could also jump upon collective code reviews, for instance, right?
exactly,
While it'll be
exactly,
just one team's responsibility, when both you can have two brains on the same thing and they can understand what's to happen, right?
exactly. And that's what is, I think, the need of the hour for quality engineering, right? Like they have to understand the same language which the engineers are talking. And these days for engineers also, right, we try to tell them that it's not just the code, you have to understand the functional aspect of it, because if you
Right.
understand the functional aspect of it, your coding quality would automatically increase, right?
Makes
So
sense.
few things which I suggest is like, trust folks, trust them, and monitor for leaders. Just be there with them when they need it. Let them do together. Let them be together. Then they will foster that sense of collaboration that we can do it. If for every team, if for every sync up or every stand up, all the leaders are showing up,
Mhm.
then the individual contributors, they feel that, you know what, these people, these leaders will take care of all of the release planning and other things. You make
Right.
that responsibility for the squad, and then you see they do wonders.
Yeah.
So
Nurture accountability over
yes,
time.
not exactly. And then sometimes it's important. I know everyone is these days adapting remote work, and which is great, right? It taps into a completely different world altogether, right? When you can hire remote folks, you can hire so much diverse talent, which is
Uh-huh.
amazing, right? At the
Right.
same time, try to make sure that they do meet once in a while, right?
Right.
They all sit together, have a good dinner, because in the end, it's the relationships that would
Right.
take you far.
Right.
If you understand what that person is personally at a personal level, it would be easy to like talk to them. The conversations would just flow naturally in your
Right.
stand-ups and in your, and like when you need help at like 12 o'clock in the night, it would be easy to approach. So that personal social aspect is absolutely needed. So if possible, once in a while, get together, have a drink, just chill, forget about work, and it would come back in your work. It's
So
very
one
important.
team, one mission, and one party every once in a while.
Yes,
Right.
definitely.
Of
Work
course.
hard, party harder.
Yes, indeed. So, of course, we talked about so many things, and before we close this episode, there's one thing that's probably in everybody's mind these days, and that is coming down to the emerging tech, right? What do you believe will have the biggest impact in quality engineering in, say, the next 4 to 5 years?
It's hard. I mean, it's hard to like just point to one thing which could like impact things, but AI is here to stay, I would say. And
Right.
as one thing which I feel is like people, when automation came in, that time also folks were like very worried that okay, functional QAs will lose their jobs and things like that. And now it's a second wave. I feel like with AI again, everyone started questioning. This time it's not just QA, they are questioning even engineers, right? Like, do we really need engineers when there are agents coding for us? Next 4 or 5 years, I don't think it's gonna like change drastically. Every time I've seen there is a wave of a hype, and then the hype settles and the reality kicks in. So I feel that yes, AI and ML, they are there. All these technologies, they are great tools. Everything is there for us to make us more efficient. So that quality engineers right now, like if without AI earlier, they were like, oh, it's no time. There is no time to generate data. It would take like 1 day or 2 day to generate data. So
Right.
you are losing on to your strategy and your functional domain value add. You are not able
Right.
to do that because you were so stuck on this tech burden. So AI is here to help us reduce that tech burden, and it will continue to evolve more. And in next 4 5 years, like I was talking about these healing tools, right? They
Right.
are still little glitchy, and like data generation, edge case scenarios. Maybe that will improve, I feel,
Right.
but
And
still
there's
the
AI agents. Everybody's cooking their own AI agents. So
yes they
interesting activity over there altogether. Let's see
yes
what turns up.
yeah yeah so
So
yeah
that's about it. Look, as you said, rightly said, AI is here and it is here to stay, right? So, and with AI at horizon, there is so many things evolving at such pace that I believe, forget about 4 to 5 years. We don't know what's happening in 4 to 5 months. Something new
exactly
could spin up out of nowhere, like literally.
exactly
Now we're
yeah
talking about MCPs, which are basically model context protocol, standardizing the way these AI agents would communicate with each other. So it's
exactly
just innovating at a crazy fast pace at this point of time.
yeah. And I mean, again, right, for even forget like about just like about in quality engineering, it's in life. You have to keep up at it. You have to keep learning on a daily basis, right?
Right.
Not just with technology, but in life also. Relationships, you have to learn about your partner, your son, daughter on a daily basis. It's an ongoing effort. So if you want to stay relevant, keep up at it.
Got to change
don't
and
don't
got to
don't
learn.
worry about, oh, this would make me this. If you are keeping up at it, whatever comes, just take it as a challenge.
Perfectly said. And with that, we will end this episode. And what a session, Purva. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your invaluable perspective. And to our audience who's been listening to us all this time, thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of this engaging conversation on the Lambda Test XP series. Stay tuned for more of the XP series, where we continue to spotlight thought leaders and change makers redefining the world of testing and quality. Until next time, happy testing, everyone.
Thank you so much, Harshit. You have been amazing. Thank you.
So have you been. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye bye. Happy testing.